Welcome to Renewed and Radiant for women over 40 who are ready to own their power, prioritize their wellness, and design a life they love. I'm your host, Elsa Martin, and I'm here for the real, raw conversations that we all crave. Whether we're talking healing, hormones, purpose, or pleasure, nothing is off the table. So grab your tea, your journal, or just your earbuds, and let's dive into the empowered, vibrant life that is waiting for you, because your next chapter starts now. All right, I am excited for today. This is going to be a great show. We have an expert with us today that I think you are going to find very interesting, and I'm going to read her bio. So I have Delaine Benson with me today, and she is a registered nurse, a board certified nurse coach, as well as a breathwork facilitator with over 20 years of experience in wellness and healthcare. Delaine specializes in helping overachieving, people-pleasing women, if any of us can relate to that, break free from the overwhelm of trying to be everything to everyone. Amen. So that they can reclaim their energy, joy, and sense of purpose. Her work blends nervous system regulation with breathwork and subconscious reprogramming to create sustainable change from the inside out. So with that bio, you know why I asked Delaine to be here today. This is going to be incredible. Welcome, Delaine. Thank you for joining me on Renewed and Radiant.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, this is going to be great. You have so much experience, and I know that you've walked a journey yourself. So, will you please share with us your real, raw story of where you were and what brought you to where you are today?
Yes, I think my story begins in 2020. And at the time, I was a nurse working in the hospital when the pandemic hit. So you can imagine the chaos with that. And I also happened to be the unit scheduler for my department, and I was in a leadership position there. So if you look at all the things I was dealing with, it was pretty wild at the time. And additionally, our hospital actually closed. So we were responsible for deciding, do we send nurses somewhere else to help out? I mean, it was particularly a crazy situation. And then at home, my husband was recovering from traumatic brain injuries, and he also has PTSD. And so we were in the thick of all of that and trying to get him the best care that he needed, and working through all the pieces of that, because as most people know, and I can especially speak to, in healthcare, a lot of the figuring things out when it becomes complicated is really up to you and advocating for yourself. So it was a challenging time dealing with all of that. And then my stepson's school closed, and so I'm trying to learn algebra again and homeschool him while he's doing all of that. And then, as if you couldn't make this up, my father also started having health challenges, and he got diagnosed with 2 different types of cancer at the same time. And again, dealing with the healthcare system at this moment in time. And then the final layer on all of it, and for women who experience this, it's the icing on the cake. I did not know, but I had started perimenopause. And so it was just like the final, all of it hits at once. And I had always been the high achieving woman. I had always been the rock. You can lean on me. You can depend on me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my best for you. And I strived for perfection. I strived for being a high achiever. I always wanted to give and give and give to everyone because I have a big heart. I love everybody. And I really broke for a bit. I was so depressed and anxious, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but I was going into a very, very, very deep freeze response. And so I was still on the surface, if you looked at me, kind of getting through the days and getting everything done, but I was deep in survival mode. There was no joy. There was no anything, no emotion at all. It was just almost this like blank slate that I merely had tasks every day, and I needed to get through them. And that, yeah, it was a very challenging time.
Goodness, this is craziness. Like, wow, that's like the perfect storm. Oh my.
It was truly.
Wow.
Yeah,
What did you do?
it
Tell
was.
us how you navigated that. Like, you're here on the other side. Somehow you got
Right.
through that.
Exactly. Well, the really funny thing, and this will, I'm sure, resonate with so many of your listeners as well. I had already been studying what brought me out, which was nervous system regulation, I'd already been studying it, but I wasn't studying it for me. I was studying it for my husband with his PTSD, with his traumatic brain injury. And so that's the really ironic and silly thing, is that I had deeply studied this concept and taken courses on it. But everything was for him, to help his situation. And I wasn't applying any of it to me. And yeah, just classic. That's what we do.
Yep, exactly.
And yeah, and so this time allowed for me to suddenly take a step back and say, oh my gosh, I should be doing this work as well. I'm leading him in it, I'm guiding him in it, and then I'm not doing anything myself when I know that this is a big part of the solution. And so that's when I really started to dive into it. And then I also, through the course of more studying and just the experimentation myself, I realized how much differently all of this shows up in women too, and with our specific tendencies that we have. And so that's when, just to kind of put it in simple terms anybody can understand, I started to see that we all have our nervous system regulation, that essentially we have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. They are these two systems that are supposed to be doing all of this regulatory functioning for us. It is supposed to step up everything, make everything a little more excitable, get your blood pumping, get your heart going when you have something that's challenging or exciting or anything like that. But then it's supposed to turn down and chill out and let you rest, let your digestive processes all work whenever things are calm. But what's happening in modern day women is we never get the rest, we never get the calm, we never get these digestive times to really let our system heal and protect itself. And we're just staying in the constant, as most people know it, fight or flight. But the other piece that kind of plays into this, of what women often don't understand, is that sympathetic nervous system. Yes, it's famous for fight or flight, but a lot of women, that doesn't really resonate with them. Like, they don't think of themselves as fighters. They don't think of themselves as, being so afraid and running away from something in fear. But their safety is affected instead by a freeze response or a fawn response. And so, to put that in more familiar terms that you can understand, when you're in a freeze response, you are getting that activated, I feel unsafe, something's wrong in your body, but on the outside, you look completely calm and regulated. And that's a trick, because women say, oh, I don't have any anxiety. And I say, well, what's happening in your head? It's going a million miles an hour and I'm worrying like crazy and I have 10 different things I'm balancing. I'm like, that's the freeze response showing up, is that your body is kind of just in this stuck mode, feeling or looking like you're doing pretty well. However, the brain is completely in overdrive, overthinking, overprocessing, and doing a lot more work than it should. And then on the other end of that, the fawn response is more feeling unsafe because you don't want to be around whatever this response is. And it is making you basically appease whatever you see as the threat. And so a good example I can think of is if you have a family member who's highly confrontational. Every time that there's a family event, they're going to cause a problem, they're going to cause a scene, they're going to pick a fight with somebody, and you know this. And as that people-pleasing, high-achieving woman, you're trying to control the situation, right? That's what makes you feel more safe. And so what you do when they arrive at the event is you bring them a drink, you bring them some food, you're really nice to them, you kind of go over the top with it a little bit, but it's because it makes you feel unsafe for this person to be arriving and the potential for chaos that they can create. So what you're trying to do is diffuse that, control the situation, and then you feel safe. And so these two things are the tricks that we always fall into, of not thinking that you're an anxious person or not thinking that you're activated, but it can show up very differently in the body and in the mind.
I love that. Thank you for explaining that, because yes, for so long, it's always been fight or flight. You're either in that,
Right.
but not necessarily. There's also the freeze and the fawn. And I love that. And recognizing how it shows up in your brain and in your body. And I mean, specifically can think of times when I've done that, and it's like, you're all calm and you're happy and you're being the one that's helping everybody. But inside you're like, blah, 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 blah. It's just
Exactly.
going on, right? You're like trying to control. I
Right.
really appreciate explaining that there's the four different ones. I'm so fascinated, and probably in the last 6 months, I've been learning more about the nervous system and regulating that, and even for myself, because with the hormone testing, I see how cortisol, and almost always, especially for us high achieving ladies, the cortisol is either through the roof or it's already depleted so much that it's totally dropped off. And of course, that was
Yes,
the case with myself as well. So, nervous system regulation is such a huge factor in that. So tell
it
us
is.
more, Delaine. This is fascinating.
Yeah. So, one thing that I've noticed often in working with my clients is that the perfectionists and the overachievers, not always, but often they show a freeze response. And that seems to be more what they're prone to because they're more prone to that overthinking piece and the worry and letting all the gears go way too quickly. And so that's what I happen to see often with them. And so much of their behavior is driven by feeling unworthy and feeling like they don't deserve whatever, love, happiness, anything in their life without earning it. And so that's one big piece that I do when I work with people is to help them understand those little triggers and where that comes from in their life. And then start to work with these patterns and reprogram them to feel worthy no matter what, because we are all worthy of having the life that we want. And that's what I love about your message with your podcast so much is that you're helping women see this. Like we're all deserving and worthy of a beautiful life, but we have to do things to be able to get that. And so that's where all these pieces come in. And then on the other side with the fawning, that of course, and that's pretty obvious to see once I explain it, it's tied to people pleasing. So all the people pleasers fall into that category, and they are finding their worth by giving. If they are not pushing something out onto someone else, they don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they're loved. They don't feel like they deserve anything in life. And then, of course, there's the really special ones of us that have both of those. So we can go freeze, we can go fawn. And it's even worse because you're constantly in that give, achieve, achieve, give, achieve. And it's just a hectic, chaotic pace that eventually it's going to catch up with you. And sometimes that's early in life and sometimes that's later in life. And most often, if you don't make it through perimenopause and menopause without at least a little of it catching up with you, I'd say. That's one thing I see with a lot of the pattern. I see, have worked with some women in their 20s, but primarily I work with women in their 30s who are starting to see it in other people and they want help. And then so many women get slapped in the face during the perimenopause and menopause time, and then even afterwards in the adjustment period, because their happy, loving, caring hormones like oxytocin are starting to go down. And that starts to make them see things a little differently than they used to. And I like to think it's a little bit more honest and a little bit more clearly. And they get resentful, they get angry, they start to see, man, I'm giving way too much away, or I'm worrying way too much about what people think. And so that's why this work becomes so important, because it's helping you reprioritize. Like, what do I actually want in life? How do I get there? And how do I feel just a general sense of safety in myself at all times so that I feel like I'm actually deserving of these things that I'm bringing into my life?
Yes, exactly. And that's why I love this topic for us, because of course that's who I mostly work with, is women going through those transitions and sort of in the midst of it myself right now. It's like, yeah, those hormones drop. And I love that you said that, because I feel like it's really where the authentic version of us comes out, because those hormones, because we're losing that somewhat, it's like I care less about what you think, which
Right.
is so freeing. And you really can show up more authentically as yourself. And I love that you brought that out, and that let's start to reframe that where we actually see it as a positive. Yes, these hormones are dropping, and that's okay. Yeah, it's going to cause some transition, some physical changes, but also it gives us the opportunity
Mhm.
to help us to become more authentically ourselves.
Truly. Yes. Yeah. I feel like before you go into this phase of life, you have all these negative thoughts about it. And yes, it is a challenging time. I'll be honest. And not for everybody. There's some who can kind of skate through it. It's not as challenging, but often for the high achieving, people pleasing woman, it is. And one thing that's so beautiful and empowering is that, yeah, it's that, but also it's the opportunity for complete reinvention. And like you highlighted, reinvention to get back to your authentic self. So that might not even be the appropriate word, because it really is this drawback to authenticity and who at the very heart and soul of you that you are. And one thing that I've noticed with this work is that often women either have to be in so much pain and frustration to finally dedicate the time and whatever they need to invest in themselves. They have to just be in a really bad state, or they get framed in a certain way that they understand that this implication or this healing has implications and ripple effects from it. And so they do it because they can't necessarily dedicate any time to themselves at the moment or invest in themselves. But then they look at, oh, but my kids are starting to get this pattern. I can see this playing out, that I'm passing this down to them, and I don't want this for them. So then they feel inclined to do the work because they're starting to see it play out that way. And thank goodness for that, because however you can find the means to justify the work, then that's what you need to do, because you need to see that, yes, it's not easy. You're not going to reset your nervous system overnight. But what's on the other side of that is this insanely beautiful, happy life where you're really finding your true joy and you're getting to be yourself, which is so much less energy than not being yourself. And that's what's so exciting, is find that person that resonates with you and get their guidance, get their help, and take the time for yourself, please, because it will change everything.
Oh, yes. This is so good. I love this so much. You're right. And isn't that like with everything, especially with women? I feel like we either get so sick and tired of being sick and tired that we're like, okay, there's nothing else I can do about it. I have to deal with it. It's screaming at me, so I have to deal with it. Or we do it because we think of it as for someone else, which awesome, right? Because you're right. If what we don't deal with, our children have to deal with on an even bigger scale, because we pass that on to them in an even greater measure. So I love that focus of, I'm doing this for me, but I'm really also doing it for my family and for all of those that are around me, because we know, especially as the women, that whatever we do affects everybody around us, and how we feel, how we show up has a huge impact on everyone around us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I love this. So far my takeaways are, get yourself to the point where you recognize, I need to do something about this and I'm going to do it. As well as, I think it's great to take some time to think about which of the four are you, or which combination of the four are you when it comes to your nervous system, and how you naturally tend to react. And then also what we can do about it, and recognizing that these are the four main ones, and recognizing that, when I'm starting to respond that way, and because I feel like being aware is like really the first step. And so recognizing, oh, here I go, going into the flight mode, or whichever mode it is. And then we can deal with it, I think, because then we're aware of it, then we can do something about it.
Exactly. I think that you perfectly highlighted it. It really is, it starts with awareness, and then you start to move into, okay, and what can I do about it in those different states? And that is one thing that I'm including for any of your listeners. I've got a guide, how to reduce overwhelm and reset your mood in 5 minutes or less. So it's just a good thing that they can access quickly and do these routines, experiment, and see the effect it has on them. Because one misconception that lots of people have is nervous system regulation is about feeling calm all the time and nothing affects you. And that's not what it's about. What it's about is you have a moment where you realize, like you said, you're in one of those 4 dysregulated states, and then you just simply do one of the exercises and it helps you come back to center. And then in that moment, you can look at the way forward, because sometimes the best thing that you can do for yourself in that moment is feel an emotion. Let's say anger's coming in. And when you get centered and grounded, you realize, I have a lot of this anger energy in me. And so I need to go just move my body for a little bit, like put on some empowerment pop music and just dance like crazy, or scream, or whatever it is that you need to do, but discharge that. and then move forward with that moment. But we just get so caught up in the task, 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 and we turn everything off. And that's what's getting us to this point where we don't feel joy. We don't feel any of our emotions because we are essentially working like robots.
That's exactly true. Or what I see with a lot of ladies that I work with, they go into the stuff mode and they stuff it with typically food. I need some joy here. I need some comfort. I need some peace. I'm going to eat food and stuff the emotions, and that food is going to help me temporarily feel a little bit better. It's going to give me that shot of dopamine in the few seconds that I have it. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. We are very good at distracting ourselves and from pain, from any negative emotion. And this is actually freeing and empowering by being able to take back your power, your control. And then you can make a choice, because I might have a feeling of a freeze response and I want to comfort myself with some food that is probably not great for me. Well, if I ground myself and center myself, and it still sounds like I'm like, I really would like to do that just for a little bit. Good, great, do it. But I'm consciously doing it as opposed to a subconscious behavior that I'm just shoving food in my mouth and not really getting any of the true dopamine and the real good feelings that come from savoring a guilty pleasure food. And instead it's an empowered choice that I'm making. And that feels completely different.
Absolutely. So true. As you're sharing that too, I'm thinking of how powerful, impactful that this could be for us to learn how to do it as women, but also then to be able to share that with our children, our grandchildren, all those people around us. Like, we can have such a hard time regulating our emotions or figuring out what's going on. But when you recognize what of it is that is happening, and I thank you for the free resource. That's amazing, by the way. And that people can take that and use it. Do it on yourself first, practice it on yourself, and then share that and help other people that are around you. That's so powerful to be able to process emotions and in a healthy way.
Exactly. It really is. And it's exactly what you said too. You're modeling this ideal behavior for others, and the ripple effect of that can't even really be calculated, because who knows if they teach someone else, and then those people teach others people, and then the next thing you know, you're building this level of resilience and emotional regulation in your community and in your family. And that's a beautiful thing for us to pass on, and it's something very needed in this world right now.
Absolutely. It's exciting to me to think about how many people we could actually affect in a positive way by sharing this.
Truly.
Yeah. Love this. Okay. Delaine, if there was one action step that someone could take today, maybe they see themselves. I mean, I feel like we all see ourselves in this somehow, if we're honest. What is an action step that they could take today to help them move towards a more regulated nervous system, towards designing the life they love, working towards their goals? That's, going to help them take a step away from that and more towards the direction they want to go.
Yes, the foundation of nervous system regulation work starts with awareness. And if you are just even wondering if this really applies to you, you're not totally sure if it does or not, one thing that I love to challenge people to do is set a timer. And it can be, let's say you can set it for 4 times a day, 3 times a day, whatever you want to do. And when the timer goes off, you just try to be present in your body for a minute. Take a few deep breaths and then notice your state. And so think about it. Like, do I feel kind of like I'm in a freeze state right now, that I've been scrolling on my phone and my mind is going a million miles an hour. So I feel ramped up, but I also see I'm not doing what I should be doing. I'm procrastinating, I'm scrolling, I'm not really present in my life and being efficient in the way I'd like to be. And so then you can take one of those activities from the Reducing Overwhelm guide and do that. It just takes 5 minutes, and then you get clarity and you can think, oh, okay, so what's the next best step that doesn't overwhelm me right now? Because let's say your task list has, I have to get 10 things done today. Pick one that sounds like the most achievable, and then just do that thing and just ignore the rest of it. Just going to do that one thing. When it's done, then you move on to the next thing. And then you have totally reorganized your life, and you'll be so much more relaxed, efficient, and feeling fulfilled because you're accomplishing your tasks. And then the bonus is you're starting to become aware too of, oh, I go in the free state a lot. Or I get that restless flight thing and I really start wanting to move my body and then I can't focus. But when you build that awareness, then you can start to, again, next layer, build upon, okay, but what can I do about it?
Okay, that is great. Love that. And simple and something they can do right now. That is excellent. Thank you for that. So good. Anything else you want to share with us?
I think that really covers the big parts of nervous system regulation. The one thing that I do want to encourage is for everybody just to, and I know it can be really hard, especially if you haven't really taken much of a deep dive into this work, but really start to love and appreciate yourself, because the foundation of this is great, but it doesn't really work if you aren't learning also that your worth is not earned. Your worth is not something that you have to be constantly giving everything away for. But you are loved and beautiful and perfect just as you are, and really taking in ways to start to learn to be that way.
Oh, that's so good. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. That is amazing. And I'm shocked at how many ladies struggle with that, the worthiness part. And you really are. You're already loved. Divine creation. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. That's
Yeah,
great. Oh,
absolutely.
okay. Let's do a few just for fun rapid fire questions to help people get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
All right. So, first one is your favorite healthy food, Delaine?
Oh, I love a good bowl. Like the if you've got like rice and salmon, maybe some veggies, and a good sauce. It has to have a good sauce. Then
I'm with you. I love a good bowl too.
Mhm.
Okay. Favorite place you've ever traveled?
Think Salzburg, Austria would be my favorite because I am a Sound of Music junkie. I watched that movie a bunch of times when I was little, and my parents took me to the play once. And so, yeah, I just went around and found all the little scenes where they'd filmed things, and it was heaven on earth.
That is awesome. What a cool experience. Okay. And lastly, what is something we may be shocked to know about you?
I have had a lot of crazy jobs. I have worked at Walt Disney World. I managed a pumpkin patch in California, and then I've also worked as a river guide in Idaho.
Wow, you've like covered the states.
A little bit of everything.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing your wisdom today. I really appreciate it. I know that this is going to be very helpful to people that listen to this. And honestly, I feel like life changing has the potential to be life changing if we take this information and actually apply it to our lives and start to do the work that's going to really help us get that freedom, really, because it's so
Yes,
freeing. I just know just a little bit of that I've done in the last few months, how freeing it actually is. I got a long ways to go with that, but it sure is nice not to have to deal with that so much, but to actually heal. So thank you for this. Where can people
absolutely.
find you, Delane, if they are looking to contact you or to follow you?
So my website is www.delainebensonwellness.com, and that's DLAYNEBENSON wellness. And then that same Delaine Benson Wellness is my Instagram, and then you can also just search Delaine Benson on Facebook. I'm available there as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for your time today. This has been incredible and I know super helpful to many people. So, thank you for watching today. Thank you for listening. This has been incredible and I know that it's going to be helpful. So, if you know someone that could relate to this or benefit from it, please make sure you share it because we all are desiring to design a life we love. Thank you for joining me today on Renewed and Radiant. I hope today's conversation sparked something in you, a shift, a question, or even a bold new intention. If you loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another amazing woman. Until next time, stay strong, stay empowered, and keep showing up for yourself. Because you, my friend, are just getting started on designing a life you love.